What's going on, guys? Trav here, and welcome back to another video. And in today's video, let's talk about some sports. This is the exciting time of the year when both the NHL Stanley Cup Finals as well as the NBA Finals are on at the same time. And in today's video, I'm going to give you my predictions, or at least what I'd like to see happen, on both of those two events. Now, I'd like to make a disclaimer. I'm not the biggest hockey fan, so I don't know pucks super well, and I have some biases in the basketball front, which I'll talk about later. So I don't know the most about these two sports. I think the sport that I know the most about is football, just because that's the easiest one to track. There's only 17 games per team per season, so it's a lot easier to keep track of which teams are good, which teams are bad, stuff like that, when the seasons are a lot more condensed like that. With hockey, I believe there's 82 games, if I remember correctly. I know there's 82 games of the regular season in basketball. So again, that's pretty hard to watch all of those games and keep track of. But anyways, let's get right into our first finals prediction, which we're going to start with the NHL Stanley Cup Finals, mainly because that starts tonight. I'm recording this video on Wednesday, June 4th, so the Stanley Cup Finals begin tonight. It is between the Florida Panthers and Edmonton Oilers. Now, this is where it gets fun. My prediction is I got the Panthers in 6. Honestly, they might even win in 5. As much as I'd love to see Connor McDavid hoist Lord Stanley's Cup, I cannot have Canada win a Stanley Cup, as hockey is our sport now. The last time Canada won a Stanley Cup, or I guess a team from Canada, was in 1993 when the Montreal Canadiens defeated the Los Angeles Kings in 5 games. It's been a great cup drought for those Canadians, and I'd love for it to keep going. Like I said, I don't know puck super well, so as for a finals MVP or a Stanley Cup MVP, I don't even know if they do that, I'm not gonna lie. But if I had to pick a player that I think is gonna perform the best and be the best player, I'm going to guess either Matthew Tkachuk or Alexander Barkov. Obviously, those are just the two best players on the Panthers, and they've been really good. I was first exposed to the Tkachuk brothers, Matthew and Brady, when I was watching the Four Nations event that happened during what would have been the All-Star break for the NHL. That was super electric, and I hope they do that again soon. I'm not exactly sure how often that occurs, but hopefully they do it a lot more often. It was a lot of fun and great hockey. But anyways, final prediction, Panthers in 6, Matthew Tkachuk or Alexander Barkov, finals MVPs. That's what I got. Book it. But again, even though Canada would be winning a cup and hockey is our sport now, that's a US sport, baby. If Connor McDavid ended up holding Lord Stanley's Cup, I wouldn't have a problem with it. He definitely deserves it. And also, though, if they do lose and it makes him leave, and I think 2026 is when his contract's up, and he becomes a Flyer, because you already know, future Flyer right there, I wouldn't hate on it. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, that is my prediction for the Stanley Cup Finals. Again, Panthers in 6, baby. Now let's talk about the NBA Finals. The NBA, I have a little bit more ball knowledge in. Definitely not as much as football, but I'm working on it. For the finals, we have the Indiana Pacers versus the Oklahoma City Thunder. Now, between these two teams, I have a very strong bias against the Thunder, and I believe the rest of the nation is with me on this one. I saw a little map of the rooting guide that people thought for the finals, and it was everything but parts of New York City and obviously Oklahoma City rooting for the Pacers. No one wants the Thunder to win, and I agree with that. Realistically, I see Pacers in 6 or Pacers in 7, with either Pascal Siakam repeating as MVP or Tyrese Haliburton is going to get the MVP if it's not Pascal Siakam. Pascal Siakam got the Eastern Conference Finals MVP, so hopefully Tyrese Haliburton gets the actual Finals MVP, because he definitely deserves it. They both were unbelievable in that series against the Knicks and handled them pretty well, so shout out to you guys. Definitely not a Knicks fan. Sorry to any of my New York Knicks fan viewers, but as a Sixers fans, and I guess a Philly sports fan in general, I cannot root for any teams out of New York. As for the reason why I don't like the Thunder, well, number one, they have Osama bin Floppin, aka Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. SGA, I just don't like the way that he plays basketball, and it's the same thing with Jalen Brunson. He just goes into and looks for contact and is a huge foul baiter and a flopper. And I know that's rich coming from a fan of Joel Embiid, but it's not nearly the same with Joel Embiid. At least he'll go for the bucket. Sure, he jumps into players. Sure, he falls over. He's actually been trained to, instead of trying to land on his feet, just fall down to the ground, because it is less of an injury risk for him to do that than try and land on his feet, which is absolutely unbelievable. I remember reading that somewhere. I don't know if I'll be able to find the article, but at one point in time, he was trained by legitimate NBA coaches or trainers or someone to fall down and land like that, rather than try and catch yourself with your feet and mess up your knees on the way down. But anyways, not a fan of how SGA plays. He has like double the amount of free throws than any other player in the entire NBA playoffs. And funnily enough, his first half free throws and his second half free throws alone, like if you were to separate the two, would be more than the person with the second most free throws, which is absolutely unbelievable. And honestly, it's just an embarrassment for the sport. He also won MVP this year and shouldn't have. That's a whole different tangent. Huge Jokic hater too, but Jokic definitely deserved it way more than SGA did. And I'll stand by that. He is not my MVP. But again, like I said, as for the Pacers, I really like Tyrese Halliburton. When the Sixers were thinking about trading Ben Simmons for Tyrese straight up, not gonna lie, I was not a fan. I'm also a very sentimental person, or I like my homegrown talent, so that's why I was against it. And also, I think he wasn't as good as he is now. He's been doing unbelievable. He also said that he was getting tips and stuff from Joel Embiid, so that's pretty cool to see. I'd love to see him get a ring. And also, it's just, not that it's the lesser of two evils, it's way, way, way less worse than the Thunder getting a ring. Also, on the team is TJ McConnell, Sixers legend, so I would love to see him get a ring. I loved him growing up on the Sixers. He was part of the process Sixers. I went to a couple of Sixers games while he was on the team, and the Sixers were bad. And every night he would come out trying his hardest. Not that he was anti-tank necessarily, he just wasn't the best at the time, but he's been playing unbelievable in this playoffs for the games that I've seen. So I hope he keeps that up and gets himself a ring. Again, just to recap, I got the Pacers in 7, maybe even in 6, with Tyrese Halliburton or Pascal Siakam winning Finals MVP. Let me know down in the comments what your predictions are for these two sets of finals. I'd be curious to see what you guys all think. And if you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like. If you're new here, consider subscribing. I post at least 2 new videos every week. And that wraps up today's video. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it, as always. And it's been your boy Trav, and I'll catch you guys in a video soon. Later.